My name is Maurie Lewis. I am the publicity chair for the League of Women Voters of Kitsap. And the 2019 primary elections and general elections coming up. So I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk to you about the importance of voting in these local elections and some of the things you can do to help make you a better informed voter. First, just a little bit about the League. There's sort of three tiers, you might say, to the League. There's the National League, every state has a league, and then the counties of the state. And we are the League of the Kitsap County. The League, all members of the League, strongly encourage informed and active participation in your government and your voting. We work to increase the understanding of the major public policy issues, and also we work to influence public policy through education and advocacy. We also host candidate forums before every primary and general election. We also host free public community programs all through the year on topics of interest to various communities in the county. And of course, we really work on voter registration, and we also work on getting out the vote. A lot of people register but don't vote, so we want very much to encourage people to be sure and fill out the ballots and vote. With me today is fellow League member Catherine All. She has moderated many of our candidate forums, and she also has worked continuously in the past few years on advocating with the state legislature for civics education in the schools on behalf of the League. I have several questions and points that I want to talk about, so I'll just start by asking you, Catherine, how you respond when people say, I'm not going to vote. I mean, why vote? My vote is just, my little vote means nothing, so I'm not even going to vote. How do you respond?
Well, I'd like to point out last year's election for the legislature and the race that Senator Emily Randall ended up winning. She started out, the first count on election night, she was winning. The next count, her opponent had a 222 vote lead. The next vote count, his lead was narrowed to 74 votes. The following day, Randall edged ahead by 12 votes. So 12 votes is not that many. 12 people's vote counted a lot. And so it's important, number one, you say, I have voted. That's part of my civic responsibility. And yes, my vote does count, and particularly in these local elections.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, there's only a presidential race every 4 years. Unfortunately, during the elections, when there is not a presidential race, the voter turnout is much lower than in the years when we do have a presidential election. So why is it so important to vote on these local elections, not just the presidential election?
Well, because we as individual citizens have much more influence over our local elections. Right. We can go to the city council and during public comment time give our views, say they're doing a good job, saying they're doing a bad job, whatever our opinion is. You can go to a school board meeting and speak, ask questions. Same thing for county commissioners. So, and you cannot go to Congress and sign in and testify. You have to be invited to testify before Congress. So we really have much more influence over our local governments and our state governments because we're given the opportunity to speak out. So that's why I think it's almost more important. I don't want to put one against the other, but why local elections are important.
Like your vote, you can see the impact of your vote, I think, more easily in these local elections. as we mentioned, the 2019 primary election is coming up. It's on August 6th. And the purpose of the primary is to narrow the field of candidates down to 2 for each race. And then those 2 advance to the general election. And people are saying to me, you know, I don't vote in the primary election because we don't actually elect anybody. So I just wait until the general to vote, you know, and what would you say to that?
Well, in order to be in a primary, there needs to be more than 2 candidates. So there's 3 in the North Kitsap School Board election, there's 5 or 6 in the Bremerton Council election. You get to pick pretty much who is eliminated in that primary,
right.
Because only 2 will survive. So it's really important. Again, your vote counts. You're voting for one of the 2 that are going to make it to the general election. So it's important to know them and know who do you think are the 2 best candidates that should move on.
Right. Many people really don't know the roles and responsibilities of the political offices that they are being asked to vote for. And, you know, like what's involved with the school board member? What are their responsibilities? Or the port commissioner, what are their responsibilities? And so, the people say, well, it's better to not vote unless you're well informed. But then there's a bunch of other people that say, you know, I really do want to be well informed, but oh my goodness, it's so overwhelming. I don't even know where to start. So we sort of have 2 points there, you know, about not voting because you don't feel well informed, and then how can you become better informed?
Right. Well, and again, it's part of our civic responsibility to become informed. One of the way is the candidates have their statements in the local county voters pamphlet. So that's one way. And also in there are their email addresses, maybe a website address, and their phone numbers. Contact them. If you have a specific question like, hey, school board candidate, I have no idea what the school board actually does. What do they do? And so talk to those. The other way, of course, is to come out to the League of Women Voters candidate forums, because the candidates will all be there. They're all given the same amount of time to answer questions, and the questions come from the audience, written on note cards. So that's another way. But I really do recommend try to contact a candidate if you want to ask a specific question. If you never hear back from that candidate, that might be a sign that they're not going to communicate with you. But talking one-on-one with those candidates is a great way to become more informed.
Like I mentioned, we have these forums before the primary and the general, and these are recorded by BKAT, and they're up on BKAT's website, and thank you very much, BKAT, for recording these things. And then we also have links to them from our website, and that way you can look at them if you've missed them. And we're going to be putting out schedules for the primary forums and then the general forums when they are established. Catherine, like I mentioned, you've worked quite a bit to get civics education into the schools. Can you sort of talk about that? I mean, it's a big thing, and this effort has a history. It has accomplished a couple of things, and I'm interested in what's happening now as well as what happened then.
Well, in 2009, the League of Women Voters of Washington took a lead role and sat down with the chair of the House Education Committee and helped write a bill that would require a civics class to be part of the graduation requirements. And we got that passed in 2009. It is now part of the graduation requirements to have a semester of civics. And what that bill also said is that it must include, the contents of the civics class must include federal, state, and local government organization, the rights and responsibilities of citizens addressed in the Washington state and the U.S. constitutions, current issues addressed at each level of government, and electoral issues such as elections, ballot measures, initiatives, referendum. So that went in place actually with the class of 2016. Then last year, another bill was passed that required the civics class to be a standalone class because we found it was being embedded in other social studies classes and not given the attention it needed. And the other thing it did, it added a professional development program for teachers of civics. That is still in the future. It's still coming. It hasn't actually been instituted yet. It also added tribal government to the parts that are supposed to be included. Many times we have found by interviewing teachers that they're concentrating mainly on the federal government and not so much on state and local. And that will be part of the professional development. But again, because of the importance of these local elections and state elections, that really needs to be a part of it. Right. It was our hope at the beginning that because we have an audience here in the schools, and they take a civics class, that they will go home and help educate their parents on what's going on and how government is run. So we're still hoping for that. And so there are things in the work for the future, but right now our teachers need more. Teachers go through teacher training in college and they don't learn about local government. I mean, they might be going to a college out of state or even in the state of Washington. Each local government is different. And the League of Women Voters is always available to help out any of the teachers that need it. And we've given them some resources. So we will continue to advocate for this because it's so important that our kids learn about their government and how it runs.
Yeah, with what I was talking about earlier about people say they don't want to vote because they just don't know what's going on. And with their local, I mean, not a lot of people really understand their own local governments. And that means the city, like Silverdale's is different than Bainbridge, and which is different than Bremerton, you know, so they all have their own thing, so why vote? So it's good to learn this stuff.
It really is, and any of the teachers can invite the candidates to come into their classes too to talk about that. I served on the North Kitsap School Board, and I used to go in and talk to the students, and I would ask them, do you know what a school board does?
Right.
Did you know that you could speak before the school board? No.
Yeah.
And I said, is there anything that you can think of that the school board did recently? Well, you don't allow us to wear baseball caps in the high school. I said, no, we had nothing to do with that. That's your principal. Go talk to the principal. Okay. But it was a sort of a learning thing, like we do handle. And the other thing, well, you took away our sweets in the cafeteria. I said, yes, we did. There was a federal law and a state law we had to follow, but we probably had 4 or 5 public hearings on that policy, and not a single student showed up. Well, we didn't know we could. Well, so if you teach nothing else in civics class, teach about the availability, because I know the state legislature loves to hear from students. And sometimes they'll propose a bill that ends up getting passed by the legislature. So it's just another way they can get involved.
Right. It's a great effort. Before we go, I want to talk a little bit about the voter registration. If you haven't registered, or if you have registered but you've moved or changed your name, you need to either register, or you could say re-register, but it's the same form. And you can do that online, or you can go directly to the auditor's, the Kitsap County Auditor's office in Port Orchard. You could also go to your local library. They can help you fill out a form and get it mailed in. And on that line, I have some important dates here. July 29th is a registration deadline for those that are registering or updating their registration online, or if they are mailing in their registration to the auditor's office. Online, you can go to votewa.gov, and that will help you with the voter registration. July 19th, the primary ballots will be mailed, and that starts the 18-day voting period, and this is the time for you to fill out your ballot. And when you fill out your ballot, you can either stick it in the mail, you can stick it in a ballot box, or I think you can go ahead and take it to the Kitsap County Auditor's office. Probably. Yeah. So that's on July 19th is when they're mailed, and so then's when you can start filling out your ballots. The drop box locations are in this voter's pamphlet that Catherine showed, and we have a link to that on our website, so you can go there as well to see all the locations of the drop boxes and the accessible voting units, as they're called. So August 6th is the election day, the primary election day, but you can register on August 6th, but you have to do it in person at the Kitsap County Auditor's office. So you can still register on August 6th if you haven't yet, but I encourage you to do that much sooner rather than later. When you mail in your ballot, the postmark has to be no later than August 6th. Well, if you wait until August 6th, there's a real good chance it won't get postmarked in time. Sometimes there's as much as a 3-day, because I believe they go all the way to Seattle and back or something. So there can be some delays there. So even though it's August 6th, we really encourage you to get it in the mail 3-4 days before that. And the drop boxes, they close at 8 p.m. on August 6th. They're open 24/7 during this voting period, but they close at 8 p.m. on August 6th. So with that, I just want to thank Catherine for joining me in this discussion. I also want to thank BKAT very much for giving us this opportunity to have a little quick chat about how important it is to vote in these local elections. And we mentioned ways that you can become a little bit better informed, and that is to participate in the forums or go to the candidates themselves. I also want to invite you to go to our website at lwv-kitsap.org, and there there's links to all of our recorded candidate forums, not only the current ones, but ones from several years back. You can learn more about the League. You can find some more resources to help you be a bit better informed, and you can stay informed as a good voter. And with that, I again encourage you to participate and work on being an informed voter. Thank you very much.